Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features the Uncanny X-Men number 230, cover dated June 1988. So the cover here is by Marc Silvestri and Joe Rubinstein, rather than the regular inker Dan Green. And the design of the cover actually in a way imitates the previous issues 229, where Storm, Colossus and Wolverine were atop a mound of Reavers, and here is Longshot atop a mound of treasure from the Reavers headquarters, and he's seemingly attacked by these phantom-like figures. Now, I don't know what I make of this cover. The colouring of Longshot there, mostly in purple, it kind of obscures who it is exactly, rather than having his trademark blonde hair on display. And I don't know if this is an error of some kind. And I also kind of feel that this cover wouldn't have been approved under Jim Shooter. There's something about it that it doesn't really sing, and as I say, it's unclear who exactly this is. Only a hardcore reader would know it was Longshot. So let's open up the issue, and we have our splash page here with Storm flying in at nighttime, a little bit of geotone here, and a full moon. So the story is entitled "'Twas the Night," so most of us can finish that one off. "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." So this is strangely a Christmas story, even though this issue would have been on sale in February, March of 1988, so well after Christmas. And the creative team: Chris Claremont writer, Marc Silvestri penciler, Joe Rubinstein also inking the interior pages, Glynis Oliver colorist, and Tom Orzechowski the letterer. So Storm is reveling in the return of her powers, having spent all the time since Uncanny X-Men 185 without her powers, and she is being monitored at the headquarters of formerly the Reavers and now the X-Men by Madelyne Pryor, who's accompanied the X-Men to Australia. And Madelyne is monitoring Storm and is commenting on how how simple the computer systems are, but also how powerful they are. So what's happening is there's a type of training mission to find out the quality of the X-Men's defenses in their new base, and the quality of those defenses is being tested by Rogue, who attacks the base, but is taken out by Havok first, then Psylocke, and then Dazzler, all working together. So she's also KO'd here by Colossus, and in lunges Wolverine with the coup de grace, withholding the middle claw, which would have put an end to her or anyone else flying in to attack the base. And then we get this interesting little scene with Madelyne at the computer controls, kicking back there in her chair, delighted with the systems, and saying out loud, "Finally, I'm contributing to the team, pulling my own weight. Nice to discover at long last that I still have worth to the X-Men as much as to myself. The Marauders may have stolen my baby," that's Nathan, "but by heaven, no matter how long it takes or what it costs, I mean to get him back and make the swine who stole him pay." And then we get this narrator's comment: "A heartfelt promise. A pity Madelyne Pryor doesn't remember that one should always be careful what one wishes for, but that's a story for another day." And this is the first indication of something interesting coming as a plotline for Madelyne Pryor. and we're going to see that play out in subsequent issues of the X-Men, and we're going to see some of it play out on these computer screens. Just a little note there, Rubinstein using duotone to indicate the images of Wolverine pinning down Rogue on screen. And actually, this is a point where I want to comment on Rubinstein's inks. I'm in two minds about it. I think that Dan Green at this point is the better inker for Silvestri, and some of Rubinstein's inks in this issue seem a bit scratchy on the one hand, and sometimes the lines a little heavier than I'd like, and then you'd get from Dan Green were he the inker. So let me know in the comments what your feeling is. Do you enjoy Rubinstein's inks in this issue, or would you, I suppose like me, prefer Dan Green to have inked this issue like the others? So then the scene switches to Longshot, who has been drawn down to the basement of the hotel where the Reavers kept their treasure, their stolen goods from all over the world. And what he finds, or what he sees, is these phantoms emerging from the treasure hoard. And again, just something I want to note here in terms of Silvestri's art choice. So we've got this double page half splash, and he has used this device in the previous three issues he's drawing, going all the way back to Uncanny X-Men 226. So obviously he enjoys this layout, and so we've had it now for the fourth time from Silvestri. So Longshot is drawn to the hoard by these personifications of the treasure's former owners, and we learn that sometimes he feels images when he touches objects. Psylocke calls it psychometry, and that is what has drawn him down to the treasure hoard. And we see the story of this particular bracelet that he picks up, but it's also overwhelming, and he cries out in pain from the images and stories he's picking up from the objects. And apparently he falls unconscious, because that's made plain in subsequent pages. Then another day, and Ali here, Dazzler, is in her in one of the rooms of the hotel, and trying to clean it up, and the place is an absolute pigsty after the Reavers. She puts her hand or arm under one of the beds, touches something that makes her scream. Colossus dramatically runs in through one of the doorways, knocking out the sides of it as he comes in his armored form, and he pulls up this disgusting clump of who knows what from under the bed, which really grosses Ali out here. And she just has to get out of the room, and she is utterly fed up now of her time in Australia, stuck in the middle of absolute nowhere, in this utter and complete dump, with no books to read, TV to watch, music to listen to, and worst of all, no place whatsoever to boogie on Saturday night. This is the end, she says. She's had enough. So she's at the end of her tether. Storm whips up a rainstorm, which she sends into the hotel, washes out all the grime and crud after the Reavers' time there, and Havok nonchalantly, one hand in pocket, zaps the rubbish pile with his plasma beam, and that's the end of that. And then the camera, so to speak, switches to a gateway here atop a hill that overlooks the town in the Northern Territory of Australia, and he's watching, and is it this enigmatic figure at this point in the X-Men's time in Australia. Rogue is somewhat worried about him because she has been observing him up there, not moving day and night. And so she arrives up with a picnic basket to share some food with him and to try and get a conversation going with him. And he does pay attention to her there. Then the scene shifts back to Ali, who has had a shower courtesy of Storm. There's not yet running water in the hotel. And then it seems Longshot has woken up from being unconscious after what happened to him in the basement. And then he explains to them what happened because he wasn't part of the training mission, and Storm wants to know why that was. And so he explains about the treasure that it called to him, that they, the objects in the treasure hoard, want to go home. So Rogue flies to the hoard, brings back one amulet which Longshot touches, picks up by virtue of his psychometric power, the story of it, and Psylocke, telepathically linked with him, shows what he's sensing to the rest of the team. So we see how this particular amulet necklace has been handed on mother to daughter from what looks like the 18th century to the present, but was stolen by one of the Reavers. That looks like Skull Cruncher there. And then the X-Men discuss what to do. They have the notion of returning these stolen goods to their owners. That's what Longshot wants. And Wolverine is skeptical about it. He thinks, why are we here? Why have we let out that we're dead and not, revealed that we're not? He says the whole point of dying, quote unquote, I thought was so we could hit and run without the bad guys looking for us. We lose that element of surprise. We lose everything. And the others are arguing that there's some kind of ethical duty to do their best to fully right the wrongs of the Reavers by returning the stolen items. So Storm, as leader, makes the decision to work on the hoard. We get this montage here of them dividing out the objects into piles, where the piles are by continent, and then there's a pile that includes objects that Longshot wasn't able to get a read on, and so they don't know the owners. And in the middle of one of the piles is this really fancy motorbike, which Ali takes a shine to. And then they go up to Gateway on the hilltop because they need him to help them out, to teleport them to the different parts of the world to return these treasures. And so Rogue, with her picnic basket again, explains to Gateway what they need from him, and his bonfire lights up apparently spontaneously. And then Psylocke links with him psychically in order to direct him where they need to go. So he opens up using his bull roar this teleportation portal, and the X-Men go through. Nice little silhouettes here of the X-Men, and in this period of time, all of them distinctive, even in silhouette, by virtue of their costumes and physical characteristics. So the mission begins. They each have sacks of treasure, and they pop out in various parts of the world. Paris here with the Eiffel Tower in the background. Here they are in England, with Ali delivering treasures back under the Christmas tree. And this is the point that we learn that this is Christmas Eve. And then there's a scene that's set in Salem Center, New York, with the New Mutants, and there's Magneto as well. And Storm observes the New Mutants, but we have this point that she makes that it's better that they remain, that the New Mutants don't know that they're alive, than that another teammate, another slain teammate, would be a source of mourning for the New Mutants. And then she lessens this bad snowstorm that has been impacting on their carol singing. And then we have another part of the world, Hong Kong, where this little chap is spray painting a poster that has the X-Men as wanted by the Human Rights League for crimes against the race. And he spray paints the X-Men live on the poster, with Wolverine here lighting up. This is nicely done by Silvestri as well. And then we have this emotional scene where this is why Longshot wanted to do this, and that particular necklace from earlier, that amulet from earlier, he returns it to this nurse here, Mother's necklace, and he has a little tear there of delight at reuniting the owner with the necklace. So then it's the next morning. The X-Men somehow miraculously have managed to return all those treasures in the space of one night, rather like Santa Claus, of course. And it's Christmas morning, and Wolverine and Storm have a present for Ali, which is the motorbike, which he's delighted by, and is getting ready to head out on it with Longshot along for the ride. And then Wolverine and Storm have a toast. Happy days, Aurora, to the best of times. And her response is, to what we stand and fight for, my friend, to life. So this is an interesting, quiet little story from Claremont. No villains in it. Just a story about the X-Men, their relationships with each other, and this fresh start that they're having in Australia. And instead of going out and hitting their enemies, they are doing this good deed by returning the treasures to their rightful owners. And then we have this last page scene with Gateway and Rogue. So this is the payoff to all the time she's been visiting Gateway atop the hill, and she brings to him on Christmas morning a slice of Christmas cake and a gift, this wooden whistle. And she says to him, look, she's not going to bother him anymore, but he grabs her hand, motions to her to sit down, and then, to the surprise of everyone, Rogue as well as the reader, he plays on the whistle. And there you go. That's this offbeat Christmas story from Claremont, starring the X-Men, more or less the first thing they do, having ejected the Reavers from their base in Australia. So if you like the video, please like it in YouTube, and if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, please do so in order to stay tuned for more content like this.